I'm a practical guy, not a diplomat. And thank you, the former speakers. Thank you, the ambassador of Ethiopia, for showing the significance of the diaspora in cultural development, because the diaspora have been abroad for the last 20-something years, and I base all my activities back home. So I was comfortably in Hong Kong for the last 18 years, but I had to go back to Africa because that is the source. And the problem we have between the two issues, which is the role of small and medium-sized enterprises in fostering European and African trade relationships. Let me just ask a few of our foreign partners. I know the Africans have, of course, gone to Africa. How many of you have eaten African food? Our foreign partners? You don't need to answer, but just. How many have danced or listened to African songs? How many have gone to Africa, the foreign partners? And how many have donated to Africa? Okay. We had a presentation, but I think. What are small and medium-sized enterprises? Mittelstand in Germany. In Germany, we define them as typically enterprises with a maximum budget of 50 million euro. In Cameroon, we have them below 49 million francs, which is 70,000 US dollars. Here is 50 million, which makes it 99% of the companies in Europe are small and medium-sized enterprises. In UK, we have 5.7 million small and medium-sized enterprises. In Germany, 99%. They contribute a lot to the economy by job creation, innovation, and resilience, driving national GDPs and local economies. I hope, is there anybody here who has never gone to a shop to buy something? So all your food is provided by business people, right? Everybody must eat. Everybody must buy books. There's the role of business people in cultural diplomacy. So, the strength of small and medium-sized enterprises is that they are agile, they can rapidly respond to market changes and evolving consumer preferences. You have what we call fair trade, which is coming up. You have organic things. Big companies, they will not be able to move. Like Starbucks, it's not easy to change those things. But when you have small groups like us, we can change to give you bio products. We can change to give you fair trade products and all those things. They are very innovative, very flexible, and close to consumers. We are here with our coffee, but big companies cannot come to a small conference like this. So you have small and medium-sized organizations able to move to your houses, supply your things at home. You have Uber drive you around. But big companies will say, oh, we don't have time. We want big contracts. We want to do planes and all those things. And they are also community impact. SMEs strengthen local economies and contribute to development. Talking about the continent of Africa, our population in Africa is expected to be 1.7 billion by 2030. 60% of that is 25 and below. So you imagine in Europe, we have an aging population. In Africa, we have a young population, which means what? We are the labor force of the West in future. Because when you're old, which is already showing now, you see most of the jobs here from South Africa, and maybe you have the Philippines, who supply lots of labor. But I think Germany has been doing a lot of projects with Zimbabwe, getting even Ethiopia, Cameroon, so we have lots of skilled labor coming up this way due to our population advantage. Several African nations rank amongst the fastest growing economies. Here, you will not get up to 2% GDP. In Africa, we still have 5-10. And if they put good politics in the next 5 to 10 years, where most of our products will be produced back in Africa, you find that our GDPs will still be at very good margins. In Africa, we still have very, very good margins. Here, people have 1 to 5%. In Africa, we still have 100 to 200% profit. Now, the challenges SMEs face. Many SMEs cannot have access to capital. When you go to the classical banks, they say they want your bank statements for 3 to 5 years. Just creating a bank account in Africa, you know what it means? Just register a company in Africa. You can't register a company within 3 years because you need to test your business model. Some people do potato selling, some people do fish selling. How do you get a buy and sell? I'm having a bank account. I hope you know the word buy and sell. Small traders. How do you get a small trader in Ethiopia opening a bank account? You have to pay taxes per bank account. In Africa, you have to pay about $4 to $7 every month for a current bank account. So it's not easy for many entrepreneurs to have bank accounts in Africa. So how will you get loans? In Africa, our loan rate is between 20 to 30% interest rate. In the West, we have 5% interest rate. So you see a gentleman from here moving with 100,000 euro at 5%, going to Africa and doing 100% profit and paying 5% off. In Africa, you could do that, but where's the capital? Business is a law of numbers. There's a lot of shortage of talents. Our economy, we know they don't go to school a lot, especially the Muslim population. So when we need engineers, when we need doctors, the ratio of doctors in our society to work in the hospitals. If you build big hospitals now, you find Western doctors going back to Africa to work in our hospitals, to teach. All of them have to come here, get PhDs to go back to Africa. So you see, our talent pool is very limited in Africa, which is stopping many companies from doing their projects. You imagine research and development. If you go to Ethiopia Airlines, if you imagine if they need pilots, they need trainers, they need engineers to fix the planes, they have to go to Boeing and bring experts. We don't have that in Africa, which is a big challenge for SMEs. The bureaucracy, again, is a big issue. Setting up a company, bureaucracy between Africa and Europe. When you bring a product to Europe, they ask you it must be certified in a laboratory. My coffee, if I have to get it certified EU, in Africa I pay 50 euro. In Europe, I have to pay 350 for it to be certified. And if I have 10 products, how much is that? For you to be able to then register a company, I started to register a GmbH last year. I had a partner. I was 70% shareholder because I have a company in Hong Kong and Africa. So I was the majority shareholder. And they said I have no address in Germany. I went down to minority shareholder. I said no address in Germany. I'm an international guy. Why do I need an address in Germany to register a company in Germany? So those bureaucracies make it difficult for our brothers, also the visa issue, for our brothers down south to come and start a business. Fortunately, I've been trying for 20 years. Visa is not my problem. And then I'm slowly entering the European market and, trying to raise funds before I can set up and, get a company, a work visa here and all those things. How many people are so lucky to have this chance of getting visas and coming to tap into the European market? The coffee story is very sad. The coffee, when they buy from Africa, the farmers get €2. It's exported at €5. And this coffee is sold here for €60. So you get €50 in the West economy. And after 1 or 2 years, they go back and do some fair trade things and give us €1 or €2 charity. When I roast this coffee, my model is very unique. Trying to hit it. We have from my town, we have farmers. I buy from my town and I roast in Cameroon before I export by air here. I export for €2. And I'm selling for 25, which is half the market price. I was in Finland for a trade fair. I was selling this packet for €10 and somebody was selling half of it for €15. I did not want to go into their politics. I said, well, they are paying labor in Europe. They are paying warehouses in Europe. Me, I'm producing in Africa. I'm paying my worker 100 or 150 euro. So my cost is cheaper. Again, that is the advantage. When you produce back in Africa, your labor cost and those things, your warehouse are cheaper. That you bring it out here, you outprice them. It helps the customer, it helps this. But again, the companies are not happy. If I keep on selling for €20 and they are selling for 40, 50 euro, they will not be happy. And so there is a big challenge, how to play fair in an economy where you bring your goods from a cheaper economy and you have to sell to somebody who has an expensive good. It's been playing between China and the US a lot. And there's also playing between Africa and Europe. And Africa is the nearest trade bloc to the European Union. In North America, they buy from Latin America. In China, they buy from Vietnam and those countries. So we are taking advantage of these two trade blocks because they are the nearest to us. From Ethiopia to here is maybe €200. Normally, if it has to be, because they are so near. So bureaucracy is a big problem. Market access, limited resources hindering international expansion. You have to come and register a company here. You have to have an EU tax issue before you start selling a product. How do you register a company here if you can't register a company without having an address? It becomes very challenging how to enter the European market. The issue of digitalization. If people have to pay by cash, when I bring my products, it's challenging. Not how many in Africa, you can't keep a PayPal account. Also, when you have a PayPal from Germany, paying to Asian PayPal account, different taxes. If you have there's no PayPal in Africa. In Cameroon, you can't open a PayPal account. So when I bring my product here, how do I enter the banking system? How do I get paid? Both sides are not having the same digital tools. We don't have e-banking. Only sending money to Africa has been blocked. Last month, I was in Africa to send just 7,000. I have to take money to the central bank. I have to wait for 2 weeks permission from the central bank to validate me before I can do operations internationally for 1 year. I renew every year. So we are not used to digital things. We don't know cryptocurrency and all those things, which is already mature in the West. In Hong Kong, we have apps. We just send money to bank account, move. We have 50 apps in Hong Kong. In Europe, you have some few apps which are good. In Africa, we don't have any apps. Mobile money is there, but it's not free. It's a big challenge between the two things. The Europe-African trade through SMEs, bridging continents. There are many trade agreements which are helping to facilitate this trade because the EU ACP trade agreement, Asian Caribbean Pacific trade agreement, which was signed a long time ago. There was another one signed last 2 years. There's a lot of import from Europe to Africa and there's small export to Europe. So the Europeans are worried because if there's balance of trade imbalances, it's not a fair deal. So they are trying now to make sure that they can do projects of free taxes, free custom duties. They can sponsor many projects so that we're here in the EU.
The next is for next, for previous is previous, and this is a laser you need to conduct.
You see, this is the African continent. We are working with North-South partnership. These are small business entrepreneurs in Africa, mostly women. You see, there's fish. I hope some of you like our fish from Africa. You've eaten it before. This is a lady carrying food in Africa. This is a lady carrying food. There's a businesswoman in Africa. There's fish. Understanding this, going there. This is the African population, which is estimated to be 1.7 billion by 2030. Economy and role of small business, access to funds. Coming to the, okay. Yes, the European Union and the African countries, they have been doing a lot to promote SMEs, to promote trade. We have many trade agreements, the European Partnership Agreement, EPAs, which are going on between Africa and the Caribbeans. We have many SMEs have been having lots of active participants in cross-border trade. There are many projects now within Africa which are promoting the African fair trade, free trade systems. And when we can unite amongst ourselves, then it's easy to export things. Because you can't take one product to Europe. You need to take a basket of products and then it's easier to do volumes to send to Europe. So Africa needs to improve its own trade, and I know the EU has been helping a lot to develop different. The Chinese are helping to do a railway line across Africa, the One Belt system. The Europeans are also helping with trade, trains, clean energy, and many things, so that they can enhance trade. They can enhance free trade zones in different countries, and then we can be able to compete with the West. Because the problem is we don't have technology, we don't have resources. How can you compete with somebody who is multinational or having lots of infrastructure like our friends in the West? We have a lot of, in the West, they have a lot of support, IMF bonds, and the German government assisting small and medium-sized enterprise. So there are many projects in the West, which our West partners have, which unfortunately we in Africa will not have such access. But I know there's been a lot of development from our African governments which are supporting SMEs. African governments are doing a lot because they are their neck. We need trade, not aid. So the African governments must empower their economic systems to be able to work with the Western, vis-a-vis the Western partners. This coffee. I don't know how many people have seen coffee in its natural form. This green coffee. Cameroon, the coffee sector in Cameroon. Okay, Cameroon and the EU, they are doing 40 million euros of coffee. our coffee from Cameroon, 50% is sold to the European Union because they are nearest trade partners. France is our colonial master, so most of our products, we have old partnership with France, so they have set up big warehouses. When we produce our coffee, they buy and bring to the EU. So there's a lot of trade with the EU, about 40 million euro. I think it must have increased. These are very old prices. We cultivate Robusta and Arabica coffee in Cameroon. Ethiopia cultivates Arabica only. Most of our markets are France, Italy, and Germany. I'm in Germany, so Germany is our big market. Challenges: why the sector faces issues of aging plantations and climate change is revitalizing efforts are underway. There are big projects. We have Robusta Arabica coffee, which was brought by the Germans to Cameroon in the 1960s. Java 1. Now they are Java 2, Java 3, which in 3 years' time it can bear. So they are doing a lot to change this 1960 Java Arabica variety. This me, I was in Finland doing trade fair in Finland last 2 months. That's my brand. I was in Germany. So I've been doing a lot to come between, to leave Africa, produce in Africa, and export. And I'm also in Africa trying to collect other products. You know, the African diaspora, they eat African, you know, so we have to bring a lot of products from Africa. I'm working with other African companies. Since I have a bit going ahead, I can now join other products and help them to enter the European market easily. In Belgium, we are doing a lot, but in Germany, they don't know Bobolon. They don't know most of our products. And when they bring the products, they have to be certified. And if they don't understand one product, they block all your products. But Belgium and France, they have tested lots of African products. They see that it's not harmful. So most people bring it through Belgium. The port here in Frankfurt is still, the port in Hamburg is still, they don't know many African products. So trade between African products, live products through Germany is still very difficult. Most of them go to Belgium, then they are transported here. My company is, I set up since 2000 and what? Time is flying. 20 years ago. Wow. 1998. I'm already old. So I do sourcing of products from Africa. But my model is not to export raw material. My model is those who want us to transform in Africa before exporting. Because, as I said, with coffee, people buy coffee for €4, come and sell for €40. I'm roasting coffee in Africa. I'm selling for €25 and it's going back to Africa. So then I have €20 to do social projects in Africa, to employ more Africans, and then keep money there. Instead of begging money, I have €20 in my wallet to do things. So if we add small companies like this to do this type of producing in Africa before export, over time there will be a big impact. That is the role of the diaspora in doing all these things. So I'm focusing on working with farmers, giving them more money back to the society, and exporting, pushing the transformation of products before we export. We're in Germany now, we're in Finland, we're in Hong Kong, serving healthy, conscious products to these societies. We are also promoting African drum in Hong Kong. We have a drum group. We are formed to promote African drum. We have a restaurant in Hong Kong. So we are doing lots of things to promote the African diaspora. Also, my charity, I started with a charity background in 2002. We have built many schools back in Africa. And now I'm using our coffee to be able to buy my coffee, and I can sponsor my society. Instead of coming here and trying to do fundraising, I'm just selling my coffee and profit from it. We are giving back social help. So conclusion, empowering SMEs for a shared prosperity. Multiple benefits. Greater SME participation in trade promotes inclusive economic growth on both continents. If you have many SMEs doing trade, you have moving clothes, moving food, moving our music, which will be promoting cultural exchange between the two issues. And those are done by companies. Policy recommendation, improve access to finance, strengthen trade facilitation, support initiatives like the African Free Fair Trade, the African Union SME strategy, the EU Global Gateway initiatives, economic promotion agreements, and the EU GSP. So there are many projects which the EU is trying to do to promote businesses. There's also a call for action. Stakeholders must collaborate to create enabling environments where SMEs can thrive in international trade. Our embassies should be where we can bring products and meet our partners and sign agreements. The foreign governments should also have legal systems where if their countries go back to Africa and buy our goods, there can be a way to get paid, because when you supply goods on FOB, they come here and they say, oh, 20% of the goods are not meeting your standards, and the foreign partners, they cheat us, they don't pay us all the 100% of the letter of credit. So there's a big problem with that, and we hope the foreign partners can help us. Finally, SMEs are the backbones of global and local economies. They drive innovation, employment, and sustainable growth. In Africa, SMEs contribute meaningfully to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Despite ongoing challenges, they remain the pillars of resilience and transformation across both continents. Thank you for your kind attention.